Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Doud here with your last Digit Daily podcast for 2019. Remember, we're taking about a week and a half off because of holidays and travel, so the next time you hear these dulcet tones, it'll be for the Digit Monthly or the Android Authority podcast, link in the show notes, because that bad boy is business as usual. I'm going to miss chatting with you every day. I've often said that it's usually the best part of my day, but we've all got holidays coming up, or at least a couple days off of work, no questions asked, so it'll be a good time to rest, recharge, leave a review, tell your friends and family about the podcast, leave a review, and celebrate with family, and leave a review. So let's get to it. It is December 23rd, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. Leave a review. It's that time of year again, and Android Authority has crowned a winner for its Best of Android Awards in 2019. And here's the thing. If you ask 100 different people what the best phone of the year was, you'll get dozens of different responses for scores of different reasons. What makes Android Authority's Best of Android Awards different is that it throws away the opinions and just gets down to the science and objective numbers. What phone has the best endurance? What phone takes the best photos? What phone has the most accurate display? So if you're a data nerd like me, you appreciate the differentiation here from literally every other tech blog out there. So when I tell you that the best phone of the year, by the numbers, is the Realme X2 Pro, the first thing you're going to say is, the what now? And yeah, it's the Realme X2 Pro. And with all due respect to Tristan, who said in the newsletter that no one feature sets us apart, I disagree. The Realme X2 Pro topped out the battery and performance categories due to its Snapdragon 855 Plus processor, 12 gigs of RAM, 4,000 milliamp hour battery, and the insane 50-watt charger that ships in the box that charges that 4,000 milliamp hour battery in just 29 minutes. They tested this charge time 4 times just to make sure they didn't screw it up, and they didn't. It's 29 minutes. So this phone earned its spot. The first runner-up was the slightly more popular Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, which is probably the one that you've actually heard of and, can actually buy. But there's 2 things that this award shows. The first is that Android Authority's Best of Android Award will give you the best phone by the numbers, period. It'd be easy to say that the Galaxy Note 10 was the best phone or any other powerhouse that is also SEO friendly, but that just wouldn't be the case, which also brings me to my second point. By the numbers, damn near every flagship phone that Android Authority put through its battery of tests ended up very close to the top, which means no matter what phone you have in your pocket, it's a very good phone. During our Android Authority Best of Android Awards podcast, link in the show notes, I used a race car analogy. Imagine 20 cars all starting off out of the gate and racing around the track, and all of them coming to a photo finish. While it's true that one phone technically crossed the finish line first, they all ran a damn good race to be proud of. But Android Authority is also not one to let SEO get away scot-free, so they also nominated an editor's pick, the Google Pixel 3 Welcome to the Jungle, aka the Google Pixel 3a XL, which is a solid phone in most respects, comes with the Pixel's outstanding camera, and happens to rank well on search engines. How about that? And since this is the last podcast of 2019, I'm going to take a moment to call out Tristan once more, who said that the best iPhone of 2019 was the iPhone 11, which is, and I'm quoting the newsletter here, quote, a real star that does the job as Apple's best device at a price that works for many people, and even without the litany of features that Android makers pack in, like 5G, 90Hz refresh rate screens, optical zoom, a pretty ugly notch at the top, and no headphone jack. Even though the iPhone 11 actually has a pretty ugly notch at the top, no headphone jack, and what Apple calls optical zoom, but isn't really optical zoom. Just saying, brother. So now, one more time for this decade, let's head into the roundup! Speaking of the Google Pixel 3a, which just got Astrophotography, Hadley Simons over at Android Authority has a few tips for you to use the feature on your Google Pixel to capture some stunning imagery. I mean, keeping it real, astrophotography is probably the best reason to buy a Pixel 3a that you'll rarely use, but when you do, by God, it's glorious. I almost want to go pick one up just for this feature, which won't do me much good living in a city with all the light pollution. Plus, I know me. I'm never going to drive out to the country to get away from that light pollution just to take photos of the stars. I'm way, way, way too lazy for that. California may start allowing autonomous delivery vehicles on its roads. The obvious players here are Waymo and Amazon. California will require level 4 and level 5 autonomy and a plan to interact with law enforcement, which is hilarious, and yikes. And as a side note, I recently got in contact with an autonomous delivery company in Ann Arbor, Michigan called Refraction, who has these cute little carts that pick up and deliver food autonomously, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that sounded like the coolest thing ever. I'd also be lying if I said there was a 0 chance of me recording a Digit Daily from Ann Arbor, Michigan just before eating an autonomously delivered lunch sometime in the future. Boeing's Starliner flight landed safely, albeit quite earlier than expected yesterday. The mission was to put an unmanned spacecraft into orbit for a week, dock with the ISS, and then land safely. Well, 1 out of 3 ain't bad, anyway. The craft entered orbit, but then deorbited after a software glitch, forcing landing at White Sands Air Base in New Mexico. But it wasn't all bad. The craft did land safely, and the tests showed that the craft can enter orbit and land safely. When asked if there would be another unmanned test flight, Steve Stitch, who is the deputy manager of NASA's Commercial Crew Program, said, quote, "Both Boeing and SpaceX proposed a mission to do an uncrewed test flight that demonstrated a docking, so I would not say that's a requirement. It's something that is nice to have, but I wouldn't say a requirement for crewed flight. Personally, I would ask those future crews before making such a statement, but, that's just me." Facebook removed around 900 fake accounts that were using artificial amplification to push pro-Trump narratives to around 55 million Facebook users. Notably, these accounts used AI-generated profile photos because apparently they were too lazy to look up white people on Google Images. And folks, let me assure you that AI tech is pretty cool, and there are more and better uses for it than generating racist white faces for a crappy company run by terrible people. Don't let this one incident sour you on the tech. Good things are coming. They're probably not coming from Facebook, but they're coming. In an unprecedented move, the movie Cats is getting a post-release update. Kind of like when a new phone ships with bugs and gets an update a week later, also known as every major iOS update ever. This new version will include some updated visual effects and be sent via satellite to servers at theaters. What? Guys, this movie opened up against Star Wars, and it wasn't even done yet? Just push it back a week, guys. This isn't hard. Cats opened this past weekend to just $2 million on Friday and $6.5 million for the weekend. The movie cost about $100 million to make. Presumably about a quarter of that budget was Taylor Swift's salary. So if you haven't seen Cats yet, trust me, don't. But if you do, at least now you'll see the finished movie. And finally, this past weekend was also Star Wars weekend. I haven't seen the movie yet myself, but reviews are fairly mixed, with most of the fans being pretty okay with it, and honestly, the fans are the important part. While it seems this latest trilogy launched with no cohesive vision for the story arcs throughout the trilogy to finish the franchise, which is unfortunate, it seems J.J. Abrams did a decent job of actually tying things up, unlike Lost, which ended as a hot mess, or Star Trek, which seems to have just ended. But anyway, I'll be seeing the movie later this week, so I'll be sure to tell all of you about it sometime in the next decade. Because that is going to do it for this episode, this year, and this decade of the Digit Daily. It has truly been an honor to come to your ears mostly every workday of this calendar year. I know I speak for Sam and Tristan and other folks working behind the scenes when I say that we are thrilled with the reception for the newsletter and the podcast, and they really are the best parts of our days. Maybe that means we need to get out more, but regardless, a hearty thank you, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, joyous Saturnalia, and awesome Wednesday to all of you. Also, Happy New Year to all of you. And I promise this is the last time this decade that I will ask you to leave a review and talk to your friends about this podcast and newsletter. As a reminder, we'll have a Digit Monthly for you, and we'll include some yearly insights on that as well. Then we'll be back at it the day after New Year's Eve. But for now, once again, my name is Adam Doud, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again next year.